Hello, I'm Dionne and welcome to your practice. Today we're exploring how we can stay present and close to ourselves so that no matter what comes along, especially if things get busy or we get distracted or swept up in different kinds of moods, we can always stay close to ourselves, nurture ourselves, listen to what we need and take care of things that are important, most important at least. So for this practice you're welcome to use any props if you're used to using props. For example, putting something under your bum, a cushion or whatever if you need it. As always, take care of yourself, go at your own pace, and let's begin. So you're going to cross your left leg in front of your right leg and then explore flexing the feet quite strongly. So you kind of want your heels to push out towards either side of you. Those of you who have more space in the hips, you might experiment with walking the feet further over to each side of your mat or each side of the room. And then try and relax the belly here. You're very welcome to use your fingertips behind you and stay upright as you take a little stretch into the outer edges of your hips. Those of you who have more space, you might experiment gently taking the fingers forward and then slowly folding in. So this is very much an introverted practice. Taking folds, it's a nice way to turn in on yourself, maybe to pay more attention to what's going on with you. Maybe it offers you an opportunity to go a little deeper in your practice. I often think being more gentle and taking a more subtle yoga practice is a really advanced thing to do. So, as always, try not to push yourself too hard in each shape and instead explore sensation without trying to hurt yourself in any way, whilst maintaining a really fluid, easeful breath, just making space wherever you can. On your next inhale, gently start to come back up and then swap sides. So this time right leg in front of left, keeping the feet flexed. It might feel different on one side compared to the others, so do bear in mind if you've got injuries, particularly hip or knee or ankle injuries, it's probably going to have an effect on the position of your legs. But all the more reason to have a little slightly lighter touch with your practice, maybe easing off, especially if you're prone to pushing yourself. And then on this side, relaxing the belly, either staying up and just breathing here or folding forward. So as I said, you're welcome to have something underneath your bum. If that helps the pose feel a little more spacious, then by all means do that. All the while just paying attention, noticing where you might feel sensation in the body, knowing when you might need to ease off, back off, or take a rest. And for so many of us, being a little gentler or knowing when to slow down and to soften can be a really challenging thing to do. So maybe you start with just simply talking to yourself in a kinder way. Maybe finding a way to lengthen the breath. I like to sway a little bit side to side, but if it feels better for you to be still, that's a-okay. It's your practice. So on your next inhale, gently lift yourself back up. And you can use your hands to bring the knees to center, feet to the floor, as you gently come onto all fours. So take your time getting there, and we'll explore a tabletop version by spreading fingers. For this one, try tucking the toes, and then see if you can feel each toe on the floor, so stretching into the base of the feet, and then really plug your fingertips into the ground. And then here, just see if you can let the ground support you, especially if you're not used to doing that. So rest your bones, shoulders over the wrist, knees underneath the hips. Find a suitable posture that feels safe, that feels pretty sturdy, secure. And then explore this idea of supporting yourself. So start to bring your belly button up towards your spine. So we're just engaging the core, this whole area around the middle. Keep the breath nice and fluid here. Then you might start to begin cat and cow. So arching, rounding, moving through the spine. Any way that feels good here. But see if you can just try to slow down the movement. So we're not trying to crank or force this kind of flow. And it might be a linear backwards and forwards movement. Or if you're feeling a little creative, you can start to take circles. Maybe you lead with your hips if that's feeling good today. Or maybe you move higher up the spine and lead with your rib cage, just taking circles as big or as small as you like, changing directions when it feels good. And then remembering that the neck is part of the spine, so if you know you tend to hold tension or you find that the head is super rigid, then see if you can let that go. So easing yourself into your practice and then gradually finding center. And from here, re-plugging fingers and toes into the mat, and then just see if you can hover the knees, maybe an inch or so away from the floor. And then try and keep your core engaged, so navel towards the spine. And as this is probably quite an intense shape to hold, know that you can always take a rest and just bring the knees back down. Or if you are fine to hold, then just notice if there's any kind of clenching or holding or rigidness in the body. Relax the muscles around your eyes. And maybe start to feel warmth, a bit of heat. Soften the tongue, soften your lips. And then bring the knees back to the floor, take them as wide as you like, big toes to the ground, touching, bum towards your heels, and then rest the forehead down on the floor. And if it feels more comfortable for you to sweep the arms back behind you, then go for that. I quite like to take a hold of my feet here, just making that circular connection, hands, feet. So they often do so much for us, maybe don't get a lot of appreciation. Just take a couple of breaths, relax the belly, let your facial features drizzle towards the floor, so softening the skin, dropping in, feeling the support. And you can stay here as long as you like, but if you feel ready, slowly reach the arms ahead of you. It can be nice to just sweep the arms around a little bit. And then gently push yourself back up onto hands and feet. Reset. Hands and feet on the floor, and then tuck the toes once again. And you can practice this little core burner if you like. You might stay there, or perhaps you can begin to press into the heels of your hands as if you're pushing the mat forward, and come into down dog this way, finding the length through the spine first. Knees stay bent. You can relax your head, and then let the belly move towards your thighs. So you're getting super long, especially through the sides of the body. And fingertips and thumb tips to the floor. Take a deep breath here. And then open the mouth, exhale. Lengthen the back of the head. Bend the elbows a little bit out to the sides, staying with the knees bent. And then press into the heels of the hand, find even more length. So bum is pushing up and back. And if it feels appropriate and accessible, just start to take the heels towards the mat behind you. No big deal if they don't reach the floor. See if you can maintain the space through the spine. And if it feels good to take the dog for a walk, you might bend one knee, straighten the other, swapping sides. All the while staying super present
Really noticing sensation in the body where you feel it. This is all part of an advanced practice. Listening to if you need to take a break. Listening if things are feeling a bit too intense, whether you need to back off, slow down. And then from here, gently bring the knees back to the floor.
Take a moment. If you want to move into child's pose again, that's a-okay. But if you want to start to move towards a twist, widen the knees. And toes can be tucked or untucked, up to you. You're gently going to lift your right elbow up towards the ceiling. Twisting the upper body to the right. Maybe you can extend the right arm. Then as you exhale, take that right arm underneath the left and slide it along the floor, bringing the right side of your face, right side of the head towards the ground. I've got the back of my right hand on the floor, that feels most comfortable for me. But my right arm, right shoulder rests on the floor. Left fingertips can make a little tent on the ground, and you can gently press the ground away in order to increase the stretch. So now my head is rolling on the floor, so it's like the back of the head is gently easing towards the ground. So it's quite difficult to breathe in twists and to talk in twists, but just do what you can, stay with yourself, just really tuning in to what's feeling good, what's feeling spacious today. Send the breath into your upper back. And then we'll slowly release, so plug that left hand into the ground and press down into that support in order to gently lift the head and slowly release. Right hand comes back to the floor, take a breath here. And then when you're ready for the other side, gently reach the left elbow up towards the ceiling. So chest moves a little to the left, get some space in the left side body. And then when you're ready, you might extend. And then sweep the left arm underneath you, left shoulder, left arm, left side of the head comes to the floor. Right fingertips can make a little tent as you start to ease open without forcing. Noticing sensation. It's like a deep listening. Just practicing, staying close to yourself. Staying in tune with what's going on. One last breath here. And then press your right hand in the floor in order to slowly come back up to center. Both hands come to the ground. Reset the knees underneath your hips. Tuck the toes. And lift back to down dog when you're ready. So pushing back. And then just see how this down dog feels. So our practice changes all the time. Not only does it shift day to day, it shifts during different parts of the day. So maybe you can tune into where you're at. Just taking into consideration what kind of day you've had, or if you've just got up, how are your energy levels? How are you physically? Mentally, emotionally, all of these things have an effect on the body. And then if you feel ready, gently bend the knees, bring belly towards your thighs. And then as you exhale, slowly step the right foot forward. See if you can slow things down. Nice. And from here, you slowly bring the back knee to the floor. And then press up, low lunge. So if you're quite low on energy, you might want to keep things very casual. So you can keep the hands resting on the thigh, press down into the thigh, so press into that support. Some of you may feel you've got more space to deepen the lunge, but really pay attention to your feet, your contact with the support. So spread the toes on each foot, and maybe you can imagine dragging your heels towards each other. So essentially pulling everything towards your center, towards your core, or just getting closer to yourself. If some of you feel like taking a side stretch today, right hand can come to right hip, left arm sweeps up in the air, And you can gently explore opening up a little more through the left side body. And if you're side stretching, inhale, come back up to center. Exhale, left hand comes down to the floor. Press down into everything that's touching the floor, and then see if you can lift your left knee up. If it's feeling a bit too much on the left wrist, you can make those cupcake hands. I don't know, I like to call them spidey hands. Press the fingertips into the floor and then reach your back heel away from you. But pull the feet towards each other, so hugging everything towards your center. And then draw your right elbow up towards the ceiling, so taking a gentle twist here. I like to imagine, this is a bit weird, squeezing a blueberry. If you've ever been to a session with me in public, you'll know I always talk about squeezing your blueberry. So imagine you've got a tiny blueberry between your thighs and you're trying to crush it. Crush them! And then see if that helps you to activate outer hips, to really stabilize, support yourself. And then if it feels accessible, reach the right arm up into the air. Use your fingertips to reach up. Head can turn any direction. Take a deep breath for nothing. And then release. Right hand down to the floor. Make your way back to down dog, however feels good today. And if you're used to flowing, you might flow here. If you're feeling a bit low on energy, maybe take a child's pose. Or perhaps you just hang out in down dog for a few breaths. Spreading fingers, spreading toes, maintaining your contact with the support beneath you. And then using your breath to have spacious, really smooth, steady evenness, which is supporting you, supporting your body, supporting your mood too. So that relationship with your support through the ground and your breath with yourself is a really important dynamic. Sometimes when we get busy we might forget that, or something gets out of sync. But the good news is you can always come back. Beginning again. Bending the knees, look forwards. This time left foot steps forward. So take your time getting there. Left knee over left ankle. And then slowly lower the back knee to the floor. And then find a low lunge position that's right on this side. Wiggle around if you need to, find that sweet spot. And perhaps you're staying low key, resting into that front thigh, pressing down towards the floor. Hug the feet towards each other, squeeze your blueberry. If you're feeling a little bit more open in the hips, maybe you can gently drop the weight down and forwards. Or it's totally fine to just back off a little, keep it casual. Maybe you take the side stretch, left hand to left hip, right arm reaches up. Keep the toes spread, squeeze your blueberry, and then side stretch. So no need to force here. Left hip, try to roll down towards the ground. Try and stay soft in the neck. Soften the rigidity. And then as you inhale, come back up to center. Right hand comes down to the floor. Press into feet and right hand in order to lift the right knee up. Press the right heel back, but keep hold of the blueberry. So you might well feel there's a little lift underneath you, a little driver. And then take that left elbow, roll it up towards the ceiling. And as you do that, feel the connection with your left shoulder, because everything's connected. Leave space for your neck so head can turn any direction. And then maybe left arm reaches up into the air, open up, left fingertips reach tall. Perhaps you lean a little bit back from that left thigh. Give the belly some space. Take a deep breath here. And then lower left hand to the floor. Make your way back to down dog in your own time. Flow if you want to flow, or just keep it casual. Spread fingers, spread toes, and then try rolling the inner thighs back behind you. Notice sensation. How does this down dog feel? And without needing to attach any meaning to that, just appreciate that things are always shifting and changing.
And sometimes we might fight against that, but instead, can we just focus on keeping that connection to ourselves so that we've got this anchor despite the change. And bend the knees, look forward, slowly walk the feet towards your hands, take your time, make it easeful. Feet hip width distance apart, cupcake or spidey the fingertips to the ground, and then inhale, lift the chest. If that feels too much, just bring the hands to your legs, anywhere that gives you more room. And then exhale, fold it down, tucking the chin. Bend the knees now, grab hold of the elbows. You might just hang out here, or perhaps you sway a little side to side. Really spread the toes here. Ground through the base of your big toes, base of the little toes, and either side of the heels. Inner and outer heels. The back of the neck is long. From here, keep the knees bent, hands to hips, draw the elbows up, and then really press into the heels. As you inhale, slowly come back up to center, up to standing. Take your time. When you get there, a couple of breaths. Maybe loosen the arms, give them a little shake. Maybe have a little dog just had a wee, shake of the legs, you know, in the park. I live for that. That's strange. Anyway, standing at the top of the mat, bring the feet together. Really create that connection to the ground, four corners of your feet. Roll the inner thighs back and see if you can lengthen through your tailbone. So you get a bit of space through the tops of the thighs. And then maybe you can practice a bit of balancing. So bend the knees a little. Left foot stays on the floor, right knee comes towards the chest. And if balance is tricky today, trust that it's always shifting. So if you need to rest on a wall or have a chair nearby to help support you, then do that. Maybe the practice is just picking up the knee a little bit, putting it back down. That's all good. If you've still got hold of the right knee, see if you can press into four corners of your left foot. And as you do that, keep squeezing the blueberry. And keep hold of your right knee with your left hand, and then draw the right elbow back behind you. So if that makes things a lot more wobblier, it's a good word, then don't worry about it too much, just stay with your breath. It's very likely to make it 10 times as hard. But if those of you are still in the balance, reach the right arm back behind you, and perhaps you can slowly turn your head to look over your right shoulder. See if you can find your right thumb. Roll the right shoulder down, and then slowly come back to center. And then release, right foot to the floor. Transition, left knee picks up. Find your balance here. Sometimes it helps to find something that's on the floor in front of you, that's not moving, that you can focus your gaze on. So steady gaze can really help steady a balance. And then transitioning into your twist, left elbow reaches back behind you, opening up space in the chest, maybe opening up that left arm, slowly turning the head. Look for your left thumb, staying with your breath. And embracing the wobbles. If you're wobbling around, that's the nature of balance, always shifting. Slowly come back to center, hugging that left knee in, and then releasing, feet to the floor. Take a breath, especially if you stop breathing there. It's okay, it happens, especially when you're concentrating. And then take a big wide step, turn the toes out and the knees out in the same direction, and then waddle into your squat. So maybe your fingertips come to the floor and you just roll around a little bit, getting into your hips. If you feel quite comfortable to kind of squat down, both feet to the floor, palms can come together, hug the knees towards your elbows and then press your elbows into your knees. See if you can lift the chest. Lovely. And then from here, bring your hands to the ground. Bring your bum to the ground. You can lean back here, relax the belly.
And then wiggle the toes forwards. You can keep the feet really wide. You can also start to turn the toes forward and then just let the knees drop to the right. So legs heavy. Nice. So another little twist, slightly more gentle now. Bringing knees up and dropping them over to the other side. You can let your right bum cheek lift away from the floor if that's feeling good. Soft belly here. Sometimes we hold tension in the belly area, especially if there's anxiety or you're worrying about something or you're just doing a lot of stuff. Bring the knees back to center, drop them over to the right. Option to stay here or keep the right hand planted. Lift the left arm up and take it over as you turn away from your legs. So you can adjust your hands to any position that feels good. Maybe bring the forearms to the floor, especially if you've got low back stuff going on. So you might find it more convenient to gently draw the tailbone down and forwards. And if you're twisting away from the legs, gently take your time, come back to center, like a rainbow. I'm not going to sing. Knees come back up to center, drop them over to the left, and then the option to keep turning away from the legs, maybe staying upright or lowering things down depending on how it feels. So always keeping that conversation with yourself, listening, and hopefully responding accordingly. One last breath here. And then gently return to center. Knees come up. And then sweep the legs behind you. Come onto hands and knees. Just going to move into pigeon pose. So you're going to bring the right knee forwards. So the knee might be between your hands, or you can experiment taking the knee more to the right. And for now, keep the heel close towards your crown jewels or your bits. And then you can walk the left toes back. So you're looking to get a nice long stretch through the left leg. And once again, activate your blueberry. Give it a squeeze by hugging the knees towards each other. So you might feel a little lift underneath, and that's great. And you can stay here. Some of you may feel quite open in the hips, and it might feel safe to flex the foot and bring that right foot forward. But as you can see, for me, this is really not a great position to be in. It doesn't feel very safe for my joints. So I'm going to stay in the variation with the heel towards the center. And then if it feels accessible, gently come down onto your forearms. Keep hugging your blueberry, squeezing your blueberry, bringing knees towards each other, towards center. And then if it's comfortable, close your eyes and notice if you're leaning more towards one side than another. For me, it helps with spatial awareness to just rock a little bit side to side and just to notice if there's a habitual side that I lean into, like an old dog. And if you notice that there is a leaning, see if you can re-center, bring things back to center. Nice, one last breath here. Relax your belly, soften the belly, let it hang. And then gently change side. And in that transition, if the right leg has gone to sleep a little bit, it might feel good to shake it out a little bit. Or you can even go through split dog, so doggy peeing up a tree, stretching that right leg up into the air, wafting it around any way that feels good, making your way back, either to down dog or hands and knees, preparing for the other side, bringing the left knee forwards, pigeon pose. So find that good position on the left leg, make sure it feels comfortable. And then you might lower down to your forearms, squeezing your blueberry, so finding that sweet spot, hugging everything to center, staying really present with yourself, relaxing your belly, finding your breath. Noticing perhaps if you're leaning more to one side than another. Dropping in. And then from here, if you feel ready, take your time, make your way back up. Again, you might go through doggy peeing up a tree, reaching the left leg back, shaking it out, bending it around. Feel welcome to come onto hands and knees and move that left leg around if that's feeling good for you today. And then from here, swing the legs in front of you and then come to lie down. It can be nice to practice that centering by bringing navel to spine, connecting feet to the floor, and then gently rolling your way down to earth. Releasing when you get there, arms anywhere that feels comfortable. And then one by one, bring knees towards the chest. So now we flip things over again, moving in different directions. And sometimes that's the case with real life. Sometimes we're pulled in all kinds of directions and we might lose that connection to ourselves. It's usually the first thing we tend to compromise, the things that we need in order to feel good. So with that, just take the arms by your sides. You might make little goalpost arms by bending the elbows, back of the hands to the floor. Any shoulder issues, just lower the hands, lower the arms down, and then drop the knees over to the left for a gentle twist. And it can be nice just to take left hand to right thigh here as you drop the right shoulder towards the ground, for the back of the shoulders on the floor. Relax the belly. And as you inhale, come back to center. Knees drop over to your right side. Just sealing in your practice. And a final twist. The twist's a really nice way of exploring twists and turns, but then realigning with your center. So usually after twisting, as you come back to center, can be a little bit more space physically, maybe mentally too. So start to reach the arms and legs out, coming into Shavasana, your resting pose. Just rest your bones on the ground. If it feels comfortable, you can gently close your eyes. If not, then just start to soften the muscles around the eyes. Make a little diffused gaze, soft lips, soft belly. And at this point it might feel quite nice to bring the hands to the belly, just to remind yourself to stay soft here as you practice relaxation, as you practice giving your weight to the ground, to the support that's always here. And then noticing as you inhale how it creates space in the belly. And then the exhale can create more softness. And then you might stay here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Even a minute if that feels like a victory for you. Brilliant. Great if you can just take a little bit of time out to seal in your practice, to close your practice, to nurture yourself. So I'm going to leave you here to rest. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope you feel more present, more spacious, and a reminder that things are always shifting, but you can always tap into that support and come back to yourself. Take care of you.